On a grand red carpet staircase leading to a luxurious venue, a glamorous woman in a layered white gown walks while cameras flash around her. The atmosphere is elegant, filled with paparazzi attention. She is formally known as actress Futagami Maki. Her inborn beauty and dedication to herself had attracted many fans. She joined the ranks of popular actresses and became a key player in popular films, rising to fame quickly. She generously displays her talents in the height of her popularity. News and media highlight Maki alongside a man in formal attire, labeled as the next vice president of DW Electronics. Social media reactions flood in with fans' comments. Some are shocked about marriage rumors, others congratulate her, while some speculate that she might retire after marrying into DW Electronics. The tone shifts darkly as Maki reflects. I traded my career for a happy family, but reality couldn't be farther from what I wanted. Maki is shown sitting alone at a long table, looking contemplative. She reflects on her life. He was always asking for my understanding. He neglected his own family and prioritized getting recognized by his father. Maki lies in a hospital bed, sweat on her face, but smiling tenderly at her newborn baby wrapped in a blanket. The moment captures her relief and motherly affection. Anxious and frazzled, Maki looks panicked as she holds baby supplies, reflecting, "Everything was a first, and I was anxious at raising my child." Maki sits on a couch cradling her baby, looking tired but gentle. "I had no family, so I struggled alone with no one to rely on," highlighting her isolation despite the glamorous life she once had. Maki's weary and sorrowful face, her eyes heavy with exhaustion and sadness, reflecting her inner struggles. Late at night, Maki sits on the couch holding her baby under the moonlight streaming through the window. The clock shows it's past midnight, emphasizing her long, lonely nights. She looks downward while holding her baby, her face partly shadowed, showing her quiet suffering and silent endurance. Her thoughts appear. I wonder if this loneliness was the family I dreamt of. Was this the happiness I wanted, after I threw away everything I've built up? The baby stirs softly in her arms, sucking on a finger while wrapped in a blanket. Maki gazes down at her child tenderly, holding him close despite her emotional turmoil, showing her devotion as a mother. "Nasuki, my precious treasure." Maki hugs Nasuki tightly against her chest, closing her eyes as if to draw comfort from the embrace, despite her overwhelming loneliness. She witnessed all of baby Nasuki's growth stages, crying, eating, and toddling. "It might be lonely indeed, but I'm not alone anymore." Nasuki as a young child smiling brightly with open arms, reinforcing Maki's realization that her child is her true source of strength and company. She declares her resolve. "From now on, I'll live for this child's happiness. That's what I thought." But her husband appears at the doorway holding a baby in his arms. He looks composed, while Maki stares at him from the foreground in shock. Maki gasps, clutching her chest as she exclaims, That child? Whose is?" Her husband calmly holding the baby, his expression cold and unreadable. He responds firmly, "It's my child." Maki's eyes widen in shock at his words. He adds, "I've already acknowledged him. All that's left is for me to register him in my family register." Maki, in disbelief, demands, "What do you mean by that?" Maki's emotions boil over as she yells, "Without even consulting me. Your child, what's that supposed to mean?" Her husband's face shows a cold and calculating expression, revealing no remorse. Maki clutches her chest, breathing heavily in distress, saying only, "Huh." Her shaken state is clear as she struggles to process the revelation. Her husband, holding the baby, says coldly, "My only child is the one you birthed, but that's not the case, is it?" Maki looks stunned and frightened, her eyes wide in disbelief. She gasps, "Wah." A close-up of the baby in his arms, peacefully asleep, as Maki's trembling voice asks, "What are you saying?" The scene shifts outside the courthouse. A judge's voice declares, "The court is adjourned." Inside the courtroom, the judge steps down from the bench, accompanied by another official, signaling the session has ended. Maki is shown sitting alone in the defendant's area as the officials walk away, emphasizing her isolation and despair. She leans forward on the bench, gripping it tightly with trembling hands, sweat on her face. Her expression shows desperation and defeat. A clerk opens a door and tells her, "I will bring the documents to you, so please wait." Maki walks past him, looking worn down but determined. Maki recalls, "The day my husband suddenly brought home a child, I decided to divorce him." The clerk hands her paperwork, saying, "Here is what was rejected today." Maki's thought continues. "After being separated briefly from my son, Natsuki, I was never able to meet him again, and I ended up fighting Kazuki over custody." A man with glasses is about to leave the room, holding the doorknob. He tells Maki, "Next time, usually you will be notified about 1 month in advance. If you have any more questions, please feel free to contact me." Well then, Maki looks nervous and emotional, clenching her hand against her chest as she speaks. She says, will I ever be able to be with my son?" The man pauses with his hand still on the doorknob, sighing. He says, "Sigh, Futagami. In order for a woman to fight custody, under no circumstances should you have left your son." She reacts with shock and becomes upset, her expression intense as she yells, "How many times did I say that it was impossible for me to take my son out in that situation?" The man puts a hand to his chin, explaining, "In court, the child's situation comes first, rather than the mother's." Maki, desperate, asks, "So, what should I do right now? I would do anything to be with my son." The man remains silent, his face tense and contemplative. He doesn't respond right away, showing hesitation. The woman looks at him anxiously, a bead of sweat on her face. The man says, "Futagami, you're still quite young. So, how about resuming your acting career?" Her face shifts into shock and disbelief as she hears his words. She looks at him in confusion and frustration, demanding clarification. She says, "What do you mean?" The man remains silent, his expression unreadable. The man suggests a deal: give up parental rights and negotiate for an increase in alimony and increased visitation opportunities. How about it? It must also be inconvenient to work while living with your children. So, would you? Maki looks shocked and angry, questioning what she just heard. What did you just say? Would you do the same thing if this happened to you? The man adjusts his glasses, trying to reason with her. Futagami, let's be realistic. I'm simply proposing a circumstance that has a reasonable chance of pushing through. She clenches her fist as her anger and frustration rises. She bursts out in fury, shouting, "I don't want money or Nanjo Kazuki. I simply want my son Natsuki. That's enough. Thank you for your service." She ends the conversation, thanking the man coldly before storming out of the room. She steps outside the building, where a group of reporters or people notice her arrival. Reporters rush forward with cameras, shouting questions about the vice president's rumored affair. "Futagami, is it true that Vice President Nanjo of the DW Group has a child out of an affair?" She walks toward her car, ignoring the reporters who continue to call her name. A white sports car speeds down the snowy road, blending into traffic. From inside the car, Maki shouts in frustration, "Reasonable chance, my ass." Talking about Natsuki's situation and explaining in terms of probability or success rate. I can't believe it. Inside the car, her tears fall onto her laps as she speaks with determination. "Natsuki, I want to see him. I'll never give up." The next day, a bright and clear morning sky. At the law firm, XXX Law Firm, the receptionist apologizes. "I'm terribly sorry. Our lawyers have difficulties in adjusting their schedules." Maki looks down sadly, reflecting on what just happened. She thinks to herself, "I was politely turned down, And this was the last place." A dimly lit parking garage is shown with cars parked inside. The space feels cold and isolated. Maki reaches her car in the garage. She pauses quietly, hand lingering near the vehicle, as silence surrounds her. She looks pained as she reaches her car. "Mediation and court proceedings with my husband over the custody of our son. That means we have to face the DW Group and the Nanjo clan as they are. I just want to meet my child. That's the only thing I want. And yet I'm here, facing my own helplessness." She looks down with a faint, sorrowful smile, thinking to herself, "I'm also alone during these times." A close-up of a man's shoe stepping forward is shown. Maki is about to get into her white car when she notices a man approaching her from behind. He is partly hidden in the shadows, watching her closely. The voice calls, "Futagami Maki-san." Her eyes show a mix of weariness and uncertainty. She stays silent. The woman looks down with unease, thinking to herself, "Who is it now?" "It's just more and more now," she calls out. "Who are you?" The man smiles, and as he approaches from the darkened area, he called out to her again, "Futagami Maki." She takes out her phone tightly in her hand. She turns sharply, her hair flowing as she faces the source of the disturbance. In the foreground, a man is revealed holding a cigarette, smoke swirling around him. The man steps into view, smoking as she confronts him. "I'll ask you once more. Who are you?" The man's face is partly hidden in shadows and smoke. He wears a faint, unsettling smile, giving off a chilling yet confident aura. The scene opens with a news update. DW Electronics acquires American mobile phone manufacturer Tease. The announcement reveals the company's ambition to reclaim the top spot in the global smartphone market. It notes that this major acquisition occurred just 5 years after Vice President Nanjo Kazuki took office. The DW Electronics sales for the second half of this fiscal year are: a man, seated at his desk, exhales deeply and begins addressing someone. "Fuso, Amamiya. How long will it take?" A man with a tattooed arm, Amamiya, enters the room. He stands confidently and replies, "Well, Director Kurikoji. As the saying goes, slow and steady wins the race." The director's eyes narrowed in displeasure. He seems tense and suspicious of Amamiya's words. Amamiya sits on the sofa, his tattoo visible as he rests his arm on his knee. Director Kurikoji speaks in a serious tone. "A lot of lives are at stake in this situation." Then he leans forward with intensity, glaring at Amamiya. "Of course, that includes your life." Amamiya chuckles lightly in response. "Haha." He raises his hand, showing 5 fingers, and declares with determination, "About 5 years. That's how long the Lion King can reign supreme." He then asks pointedly, "Have you heard of the Lion King?" The former king, the lion, whose life was taken along with his throne, loses everything. First, his woman, and then his cubs, will do the opposite. "First, I will bring Futagami Maki to our side, and then use her sons to finally bring down Nanjo." The director looks shocked and responds, "What? Her sons, you say? You? Where did you get that information?" Amamiya closes his eyes and smiles mysteriously, exuding a sense of confidence and secrecy as he grins slightly and declares, "Please watch as the lion loses his throne." The director chuckles nervously, adding, "Haha, what a creepy guy." Yusuke thanks the director for the compliment. Back at the dim parking lot, Amamiya steps forward through the shadows, and Maki warns menacingly, "Don't come any closer." The man addresses her directly. "It's been a long time, Chairwoman." He greets her warmly with a broad smile, saying, "What has it been? 16 years? You've gotten even prettier." Maki looks shocked and begins, You're Amamiya Yusuke." His demeanor is charismatic yet slightly unsettling. "Have you remembered?" He suddenly turns to look towards something approaching and says, "Here it comes." A man that appears to be a bodyguard approaches Amamiya, who is looking composed. He approaches Maki with a confident smile, speaking to her. He seems playful yet assertive. "See, I'm also a busy person, so I don't have the luxury of talking to you all day." He steps very close to her, leaning in with an intense gaze, suggesting an offer. "So how about it? Join me." The close proximity between them continues, Yusuke leaning in even closer with a sly smile as he hands a business card to her. Maki looks tense observing his action. She regains her composure and looks determined, gripping a card tightly as her expression hardens. He quickly departs in a car, waving back with a cheerful expression. "I'll be waiting for your reply. See you." Maki looks stunned, caught off guard by his sudden exit. Wait. She looks down at the card in her hand with a troubled expression, as if realizing something isn't right. The card is shown clearly. It belongs to attorney Amamiya Yusuke from the Amamiya legal office. She whispers in disbelief, "You're lying." 3 days later, Maki arrives outside, looking up at a tall office building. As she approached the building entrance, people were seen protesting. She enters Amamiya's law firm office. The door opening alerts the receptionist to do the usual greeting. "Good afternoon. What can I do for you today?" Seeing the person that just enters, the receptionist freezes as she yells, "Futagami Maki." Maki asks firmly, "Is attorney Amamiya present?" The receptionist hurriedly guides Maki to the appropriate office. "Director, a client." Amamiya leans on the counter, speaks cheerfully. Oh, I've been waiting for you. She helps herself to sit on a couch, looking serious as she questions, You? So this was your real goal when you approached me? Amamiya feigns ignorance and continues his cheerful charade. Well, that's true, but we also live in the same apartment building, don't we? You didn't know? What a coincidence. Well then, let's get straight to the point. She says, my opponent is the DW group. Can you win? Amamiya turns his head slightly, smirking with confidence. He places his tattooed arm firmly on the couch as he leans in close, hovering over her with a teasing smile yet showing dominance. That depends on the reward, I guess. She looks tense, thinking to herself, he's too close. This man, he wasn't like this when we were students. He suddenly laughs loudly and waves his hands, joking as he says, what's with that face? I'm talking about money. Surprised, she stutters, and money? He continues, yes, money. What else did you think I meant? And also, now seated casually on the couch across from her, he speaks seriously. Let me hear about the situation first, starting with your soon-to-be ex-husband, and everything you've done up until today. She sat with her back straight up, her expression determined as she retells him of what happens. When her husband brings his mistress's child home, she confronts him sternly. What did you just say? Are you telling me I have to silently obey and accept every decision you make for yourself? Her husband says, sigh. I knew it. A strong-willed woman wouldn't cut it. She turns away with frustration, mutters, yeah, that's what I thought too. I've decided. I'm leaving with Natsuki. Meanwhile, you can stay here with that child. Her husband retorts angrily. What are you saying? Stop messing around. I don't care if you leave, but I am not giving up custody of Natsuki. Natsuki is a child of the Nanjo clan. Angered by his statement, she turns around and scolds. A son of the Nanjo family? Don't make me laugh. Since when have you ever taken care of Natsuki? Do you even know who Natsuki's best friend is? What is his favorite food? Do you know how much hiragana he can write? You're always like that. So selfish and arrogant. Even now, you're not thinking about Natsuki at all. You're only thinking about appearances. And yet, you're the vice president of a major company, but you can't even understand your own family? What a joke. Angered by what she said, he answers, I understand your point of view very well, but I still won't give up custody of Natsuki. That's final. And I won't forgive our fame, your future. I'll take them all away from you. Remember that. She looks down with a pained expression. For just a short while, I got locked out while I stepped out to buy Natsuki's drink. And then, now. Yusuke lounges casually on a couch, smirking with amusement. So a stay-away order, huh? That's also an immediate warning, isn't it? She looks upset, responds bitterly. You knew this from the beginning, didn't you? His eyes look sharp but calm. He replies, well, but I don't know the whole story though. She puts her hand to her head, sighing in frustration. She says, Seeing her frustrations, he tries to brighten up the energy, teasing her playfully while holding a sign that reads, Amama Legal Office. He laughs and says, you look beautiful even when you're sighing. No wonder Nanjo Kazuki won't let you go. The scene becomes comical with Amamiya Yusuke snapping pictures of her. He says, that's good. Keep smiling like that. Can I use this to advertise my office? Maki holds the sign reluctantly, looking unamused. He playfully laughs loudly, holding up his camera. He says, ahaha, look at your face. Futagami Maki sits beside him with an irritated glare, clearly embarrassed and annoyed. Her brows furrow as she mutters under her breath in frustration. Ugh. Anyway, can I really rely on you? Divorce isn't your expertise after all. She glares at the man standing beside her, holding his phone, as she questions his competence with skepticism. Yusuke, with a calm and confident expression, glances sideways, his sharp blue eyes conveying assurance. I know. Frankly speaking, I have zero interest in these kinds of messy and profitable love affairs. Maki narrows her eyes slightly, her tone sharp with a hint of sarcasm as she comments on his popularity. You're quite popular, aren't you? I can see some enthusiastic fans in front of the building. Yusuke's past case that made headlines, detailing his impressive yet controversial achievement. Amamiya Yusuke, a young attorney who focused on representing major enterprises and entrepreneurs in legal disputes. Few years ago, E-Group's stock manipulation case stirred up the news. Despite their obvious involvement with the case, he still managed to win the not guilty verdict. While the ability to manage a not guilty verdict for T-Group that embezzled public funds is considered remarkable, he is viewed as a public enemy. And that is all the protesting outside the building is about. With a calm and almost playful smile, he shrugs off the negative public opinion with a confident remark. That's an honor. I have to thank them. She silently observes him, her expression softening slightly as she reflects inwardly. However, he's different from the version of him I have in my mind. Flashback to their school days. The Amama Yusuke I knew when I was a student. He was someone who rarely attended school. One more thing I know is that he used to live together with his grandmother on welfare. And when he attended the school, he was all alone. That's how vague my impression of him was. Yusuke rests his face in his hand, appearing withdrawn and lost in thought. In the background, Futajimi Maki and her friend walk past him, giggling and leaving the classroom, while he remains seated and detached from the social world around him. The present timeline returns. Maki snaps back when Yusuke yells, "Hey, are you listening?" She questions. All the attorneys who specialize in divorce are agreeing that this case is difficult. Hence, what's your success rate for this? Yusuke walks casually, hands gesturing in a dismissive manner. He replies, "Who knows? If those experts who specialize in this said it's difficult, then it probably is." She sits stiffly on the sofa, watching him, her eyes burning with frustration and determination. She picks up her purse to leave. She says coldly, "If you're not confident with this, then drop it. I don't have much time for messing around." Yusuke smiles warmly, gesturing with his hand as he speaks to Maki. "That part of you hasn't changed at all." He reaches toward her, his hand touching the black handbag in an attempt to stop her from leaving. She glares at him with sharp, questioning eyes, clearly on guard. "What are you doing?" He pushes her back down on the couch, trying to ease the tension. "Now, calm down and take a seat. Surely, your commission is outside of my expertise, but I specialize in making lawsuits for major enterprises, right?" The woman tilts her head slightly with a cool, composed demeanor, her sharp gaze fixed on him. "So," he leans closer, a confident smile on his face, his tone firm as he locks eyes with her. "We can't proceed this case with a straightforward method. Are you ready for whatever it takes?" She gazes at him, her tone calm but pointed. "Will this violate the law?" He responds, "What if it will? Are you shaken by it?" She looks down inside her purse, a mix of tension and determination. Inside her handbag, a close-up reveals a locket with a picture of a young child next to a car key. In a locket is a photo of her adorable baby. She can hear his cheerful voice echo, saying, "Mama. Hey, Mama. Let's play." "Mama." She clenches the locket tightly in her hand, determination evident in her grip. She says, "I'll do it. I'll do anything to get Natsuki back." She raises her head, her eyes sharp with resolve, as she states with unwavering seriousness, "Amama Yusuke. Help me." Yusuke, with sharp blue eyes and a calm smile, responds to her intensity, remarking, as expected from an actress, "You've got nerves of steel." In the next moment, he playfully clasps his hands together while the woman, visibly irritated, glares at him. He says, "Now, if we're settled, let's begin with a written statement. Shall we make it right now?" Yusuke, now in control of the situation, places a document on the table and says, Maki, flustered, responds, "Do I have to write that again?" He calmly reassures her, "That's right. It's troublesome, but you don't have any choice." As she begins writing, she pauses, slightly exasperated as he interrupts her. Before that, may I confirm something? Do you have any feelings left for Nanjo Kazuki?" She looks conflicted, slightly defensive, as she thinks to herself that no attorney has ever asked her such a question. Out loud, she says, "Is that necessary? I want to focus on Natsuki." Looking serious, Yusuke says, "It's necessary. If you have any feelings left for him, it may be an obstacle for us to go on with the plan." Maki, holding her pen mid-air, looks flustered but only briefly. Memories resurface as images of her with Nanjo Kazuki flash by, moments of red carpets and wedding happiness. Yusuke's voice cuts in. "Answer me, Futagami Maki. Do you have any feelings left?" Another memory appears, showing a congratulatory message. Congratulations, best wishes for you. May you be happy. She calmly but firmly states, no, I don't, as she proceeds to sign the contract. Both Yusuke and Maki have serious expressions for a brief moment, before Yusuke breaks the tension. He let out a small smile. I see, you're prepared for this. Then there won't be any problem for this divorce lawsuit. In the first place, whether Kazuki likes it or not, the reasons for liability are just too clear, aren't they? Sitting across from each other at the table, she looks up from her notes and asks, what about custody? He leans forward slightly, meeting her gaze with a calm but serious expression as he replies, about that matter. We have to file an objection against the stay-away order and the immediate warning. As you are aware, this child custody lawsuit started with us in a disadvantageous position. Even so, we need to keep showing your will to raise your child personally. She hesitates slightly, her lips curling into a small, soft smile as she repeats his earlier word. We, by a single word during this time. I can't. I have to look relaxed. The tension slightly lifts with a playful exchange. She teases him. You're finally acting like an attorney now. He laughs lightly and responds, that hurts. I can't always be someone who skips school, can I? The mood softens further as she speaks in a quiet, grateful tone. Why are you willing to help me? But I'm grateful for your goodwill, though, he responds. Goodwill? Don't mention it. Then, almost curiously, she asks, then why? He leans casually against the backrest, appearing thoughtful. Maybe I'm still thinking about it. Maybe it's for my public records. With a confident and slightly teasing smile, the man points to his head and says, or maybe it's for my selfishness. As Maki gets ready to leave, she politely says, thank you so much for today. He responds, you're welcome. Before leaving through the door, she turns slightly with a charming smile and says, I hope your goodwill can turn into one of your achievements. By the way, is your grandmother healthy? He looks at her with a calm expression, smiles and replies, nope, she passed away 2 years ago. She looks startled, then apologizes. I apologize for being rude. He reassures her, you need not be. Just worry about yourself for now. Anyway, contact me if anything happens. The man in the suit waits for Maki to leave. His expression hardens slightly in concern. The scene shifts to an upscale bar, its shelves filled with bottles and hanging glasses. A voice greets, welcome, please take a seat. The director is waiting for you. The same man in the black suit and Yusuke enter a dimly lit room together, exuding a sense of quiet authority and anticipation. The director sits calmly at a dimly lit table, pouring a drink into a glass. He smirks slightly as he acknowledges their arrival. You're here. Yusuke apologizes politely. I'm sorry for making you wait. While the director gestures for him to sit. Just take a seat. I just arrived here not long ago. I heard you're in touch with Futagami Maki. Yusuke smiles slightly, giving a confident but angry glance to the man in black suit. Words travel fast, The man in black suit refuses to look at Yusuke. The director places a drink in front of Yusuke, resting a hand on his shoulder. Have a drink. Shall we begin now? Holding the drink in his hand, Yusuke smiles as he announces his next move. I plan to submit a request to the court for the disclosure of Nanjo Kazuki's financial assets. The director's reflection of his smugness inside the glass as he chuckles darkly. Haha, interesting. I wonder how the vice president, who's good for nothing, will make it through this cold winter all by himself. Yusuke tilts his head back and drinks from his glass, maintaining a composed but determined expression. After taking a sip, he brings up a performance bonus. We're keeping the 5% performance bonus for KY stock separate, right? That's our agreement, isn't it? Director Kurakoji, amused, comments on the straightforward nature of the conversation. Haha, you keep talking about what comes after the victory. It's good that you're straightforward. He leans back in his chair, casually sipping his drink, while asking a probing question. What are you going to do with Futagami Maki after the plan? Yusuke looks contemplative, holding his glass thoughtfully as he softly repeats the name, Futagami Maki. With a calm demeanor, he lifts his drink slightly, a small, cold smile on his lips as he speaks dismissively. That's none of my concern. The same man in black suit looks serious and slightly puzzled as he responds. I thought both of you were close. Yusuke, with his sharp blue eyes and a sly smile, holds a drink, while speaking with confidence. Futagami Maki is nothing more than a good bait for catching Nanjo Kazuki. Don't worry about it. The man in black is Oda Hiroki. He's Kurikoji's dog. He casually pats Oda's shoulder as he playfully says, "Listen, Oda, this is what they call baiting. I'm doing this for a reason. So if you cause any trouble and aid in his escape, you'll pay for it. Don't you dare get in the way." Yusuke's thought reveals. He's got a better sense than his master. It'll be a problem if he starts to get wind of things. Kurikoji picks up the remote thinking, what should I sing, as he happily says, "Oda is an observant person. I want you to get along with him." Yusuke checks his phone with a serious expression and starts to excuse himself, saying, "Please excuse me. I apologize. I'll have to excuse myself." Outside the hall, Yusuke, talking on the phone, grows tense and serious. What's the meaning of that mail? Meeting Nanjo Kazuki in this situation is the worst possible move. Understand? You can't do that. Maki, standing near a window overlooking the city, responds softly. "But Nasuki's state has worsened, you know? I don't think that man can take care of Nasuki." The man angrily interrupts. "I said, look, you're aware that you're in the process of filing a lawsuit, right? You might not be able to see your child for the rest of your life." Maki admits, "I just want to check on Nasuki. Plus, there might be a chance that I can see Nasuki depending on how things play out, right?" Yusuke, with a sly expression, makes a rude remark. Nanjo is such a lucky man. Despite having a kid outside of marriage, he still has such a docile wife. You said you don't have any feelings left for him, right? If you keep getting shaken, why are you filing for a divorce lawsuit in the first place? Maki yells through the phone, "You won't understand." Frustrated, he shouts at the phone, "Understand what?" She replies gloomily, "Because you don't have a child. Things wouldn't be this complicated if the kid wasn't involved." He warns her, "Listen to me, Futagami Maki. With this lawsuit." Then she cuts him off. "Sorry, Kazuki is calling me. I'm hanging up." He stares at his phone in shock and confusion as the call ends. "Hey, huh?" He screams in frustration. "Ugh." He runs frantically through the hall, urgency and panic evident in his movements. He clenches his teeth and fists, shouting in anger and desperation. Damn it! A sleek black car speeds through the city streets at night, illuminated by the glow of the city lights. Inside the car, Yusuke grips the steering wheel tightly, his eyes blazing with determination and anger. He mutters through clenched teeth, "Futagami Maki, you really haven't changed at all." Maki stands by the window of a high-rise building, phone in hand, gazing at the city lights below. The person on the phone says, "I'm almost there. Wait for me." She asks him to hold on, but the line goes dead. She looks down at her phone in silence, her expression distant and sad. Her inner thoughts reveal her frustration. Talking to Kazuki is always like this. It's not even a real conversation. I know I should follow Amamiya's advice, but no mother could ignore her sick child. She is in turmoil as his words echo in her mind. Don't meet Nanjo unprepared. She acknowledges, I get what Amamiya is saying. Then, filled with doubt, she wonders, but can I really win custody? I'm the only one carrying this burden. Her phone rings again. She says, I'll come down. Let's talk in the car. She steps out of the building into the cool night air, her coat flowing around her as she approaches the waiting car. She enters the car, closing the door quietly. Inside, the atmosphere is thick with unspoken tension as she sits beside her husband, his expression serious. Breaking the silence, she turns slightly toward him and asks in a calm but concerned tone, How's Nasuki? He is calm and composed, and reassures her. He was feeling better on the way here. You don't have to worry anymore. Maki, clearly emotional, looks at him with determination and pleads, I can't just take your word for it. At the very least, let me see Nasuki, just for one day. He responds softly, Maki, how about we just forget this ever happened? Her expression filled with urgency, counters, I'm talking about Nasuki right now. He replies, this moment is important to me. You know that better than anyone, don't you? She whispers with quiet intensity, Of course, I do. The important work he's talking about. It's actually a project I built from scratch. Flashbacks show her surrounded by people on calls, busy and engaged. Seeing Kazuki struggle to grow his business, I wanted to help. I designed this entire project for him. I even reached out to famous pop stars and foreign actors I knew. I just wanted him to spend more time with his family instead of constantly chasing success. A tender memory surfaces, her holding a smiling baby in her arms at home. Ironically, this project only made him even busier and rarely home. And then, that illegitimate child showed up. She looks upset as she begins to leave. She says firmly, "There's nothing more to say." From the driver's seat, a voice calls out, "Wait." Now facing away, she opens the car door with determination. She says, "My decision is final. I want custody of Natsuki and a divorce. That's it. Or what? Are you worried you can't keep the project I created going?" Angered by her truth, his hand grips the steering wheel as he orders coldly, "Get out of the car. Be prepared to never see Natsuki again. Ever." Maki, still seated, looks at him in disbelief. Shocked and angry, she turns to him with a sharp glare, demanding, "Huh? What are you talking about?" In an intense moment outside the car, Yusuke approaches suddenly, forcefully pulling her from the vehicle. "Get out." Caught off guard, she gasps in surprise as she looks up, eyes wide with confusion. "You?" Yusuke pulls her out, looking tense and distressed, his eyes filled with determination and urgency. Placing a business card on the passenger seat, he introduces himself as Futagami Maki's legal representative. He sternly tells the other party, "If you need to contact her, go through me. Don't meet her directly again." Maki's husband, with a sharp and mocking smile, leans forward and comments with a hint of sarcasm, "I heard even lawyers are struggling to make a living these days. So if the money's good, you'll play guard dog for your client." The lawyer smiles calmly in response, unfazed by the jab, and says, "Oh, so you already knew." Maki tries to intervene. She calls out, "Hey, stop. You." He interrupts, warning her, and continues telling the husband, "That's why. You should be careful. I'm the type who never lets go once I sink my teeth in." The husband sits tensely in his car, gripping the steering wheel with a dark, brooding expression as the confrontation replays in his mind. The car speeds away, disappearing down the city street, leaving the two standing silently together under the dim lights of the neighborhood. They look at each other, and she asks, "Hey, why are you here?" His expression was full of frustration. "Why did you meet Nanjo Kazuki without talking to me first? Do you realize how critical our situation is right now?" he demands, his tone tight with urgency. She exhales shakily, wrapping her arms around herself for comfort as she responds softly, "Let's talk about it tomorrow." Yusuke, visibly frustrated, confronts Maki, his expression intense and voice sharp. He accuses, "Huh? What do you mean? You spoke to Nanjo however you wanted, but now you're ignoring me." Outside the building, Yusuke and Maki stand facing each other under the night sky, tension in the air. Two onlookers nearby notice the scene. "Hey, is that a lover's quarrel?" He removes his coat, leaning toward the woman, his body language intense but protective. She looks up at him, startled. He drapes his coat over the woman's shoulders, shielding her from the cold or unwanted attention. Two bystanders watch, surprised by the gesture. "What the hell?" Maki, flustered and confused by his sudden action, calls out to him. "Amamiya." He speaks firm and serious as he warns her. "There's something I need to make clear. Listen carefully. Never meet Nanjo alone again. He'll keep using your child to manipulate you however he wants. So, this is an absolute order." The two stand in an elevator, the atmosphere heavy and serious. He waits expectantly for her response. "Answer me, Futagami Maki." She lowers her gaze, remorseful but resolute, acknowledging her mistake. She hesitates before making her own request. "I know what I did was wrong. I won't do it again. But in return, I want to ask you something. Is that okay?" The man looks at the woman with a puzzled expression as they stand close to each other. He responds with a questioning look, saying, "Question mark." The woman, visibly upset, demands an explanation. "Why did you talk like that earlier?" He replies irritatingly, "Talk like that? What do you mean? Should I have bowed my head to him?" "Woman, that's not what I mean. I just don't want you saying things people could take the wrong way." She looks frustrated, defending her concern. "That's not what I mean. I just don't want you saying things people could take the wrong way." He asks, "Misunderstood? By who?" She clenches her jacket tightly, her expression tense and conflicted. She reasons, "It's not about who. I mean, you came all the way here just because of one phone call. What if someone thinks we have that kind of relationship? That would just make things more complicated, right? Don't you get it? His expression darkens slightly, his voice calm, but edged with frustration as he replies. Misunderstood. That kind of relationship. He smiles subtly, his gaze unwavering, almost challenging. What exactly are you trying to say? He grabs her wrist tightly, startling her as she gasps in shock. He leans closer, his tone intense as he confronts. Why? Of all times. Are you seriously worried about that right now? Should we just make it real? So they'll have something real to misunderstand. Yusuke leans in close, his expression sharp and slightly accusing as he speaks. You must be feeling lonely after seeing Nanjo again, huh? That's why you started thinking about me too. He is visibly unsteady and gripping his head in frustration, mutters, damn. Maki looks up at him, noticing his unstable state. She says, Amamiya, could it be that you? And in her thoughts, she reflects. A man with bad drinking habits. She retracts her hand and smirks. I forgot to throw this away, but turns out it came in handy. Standing tall, her expression serious and demanding as she stares down at him and asks firmly, what are you planning to do? Yusuke rubs his face and then blushes slightly as he responds, no. It's just, she points at him accusingly, her tone sharp with frustration. She asks, have you lost confidence in winning against Nanjo Kazuki? He stammers, why you're wrong. She retorts, then why did you desperately jump in like that? He quickly insists, that's not what I mean. She steps closer, her anger flaring as she confronts him. So, are you the kind of lawyer whose judgment dulls when drunk? He gazes at her with piercing blue eyes, his expression resolute and intense as he declares, there's no way that's true. Seeing his resolve, she smiles gently, her expression soft and sincere. I'm glad. I almost regretted meeting you. He looks serious and intense as he gazes at her. He says, now that I've seen you like this, you look completely different from when you first came to me, looking like you were ready to die. She speaks to him while placing a flyer on his chest. Surely your payment doesn't include your bad drinking habits, does it? If you need something to lift your mood, how about staying here? He looks puzzled. She walks away briskly, her heels clicking on the floor while he calls after her. Hey, where are you going? We're not done talking yet. Stopping to turn back, she smiles softly and says, there's no need to thank me. It's just a flyer I was about to throw away, but I forgot it. As she leaves, she glances back through the door with a confident, slightly playful smile. She says, see you later. Surprised, he calls out as she walks away, saying, hey, Maki. Huh. He looks at the small piece of paper in his hand, puzzled. He looks at the flyer in shock, seeing a suggestive image of a woman in a red outfit with hearts around her. He exclaims, what the hell is this? The door creaks open slowly. Yusuke peeks his head in with an unreadable expression, the atmosphere quiet and tense. He leans against the doorway, his head tilted back in frustration, lost in thought. The tension in his posture shows his inner turmoil. He crouches down by the door, one hand covering his face, overwhelmed. The room is silent except for his sigh, gripping his head with shaking hands. His eyes widen with horror and panic. He mutters, what have I done? He thrashes in frustration, pounding his fist, shouting, Yawa, she's a client. How the hell could I do something like that while drunk? Acting tough, drinking too much, then running away like a coward. I'm such an idiot. This is the worst. A warm memory surfaces. He recalls a moment with her, smiling down at her while she looks up at him, slightly flustered. Back in the present, his expression falls into deep regret. He mutters softly, we even have an argument we don't need to have. Kicking off his shoes, he mutters under his breath, damn it. I need to take a shower and clear my head. His fingers fumble with his shirt buttons, silently unfastening them. His expression blank but tense as his thoughts race. His shirt lands carelessly on the floor, crumpled and discarded. He stands shirtless, facing away, with his hand resting on the back of his neck. His shoulder and upper arm are covered in an intricate black tattoo to camouflage the burns on his right shoulder, arms, and body. In the shower, water streaming down as he runs his hand through his wet hair. His toned body and full-sleeve tattoo are visible as the sound effects of running water fill the scene. Looking down at his burnt hand with a conflicted expression, he thinks to himself, Why can't I stay calm when dealing with this? His face shows tension as the water drips down. He continues to stare silently at his hand under the shower. Deep in thought, clenching his fist tightly, he reflects. This feeling, shouldn't I have erased it a long time ago? Now dressed with a towel around his shoulders, he approaches a table where his phone vibrates with an incoming call, drawing his attention. Answering the phone with slight urgency, he says, "Hey, is this Oda?" "Hello." His expression shows a mix of focus and impatience. On the other end of the line, Oda responds while sitting at his desk. "I wanted to update you on Nanjo's side of things." Yusuke asks, "A countersuit, huh?" "And they're in a damn hurry," to which Oda replies, "Well, can't blame them. The deadline's closing in. By the way, you left in a hurry. Just now, was it about Ms. Futagami?" Yusuke responds, "You're really sharp." "That's right." Oda asks, "Will she act the way we want her to?" Yusuke ponders briefly before replying, "This isn't about whether she'll act the way we want. It's about how we make her act the way we want. I'm hanging up. Get back to work." After hanging up the calls, Yusuke leans back on the couch with a weary expression, letting out a sigh as he says, "Huh." He walks to the fridge, his expression firm, as an inner thought echoes, "Have you lost confidence in winning against Nanjo Kazuki?" He twists open a bottle of water with a sharp motion, emphasizing his frustration and determination. Now standing on his balcony, he looks out at the expansive night view of the city, the lights glowing brightly below. The moment is silent and reflective. From a side angle, he stares out into the city nightscape in silence, lost in thought. His expression is serious but contemplative, reflecting on when she asks firmly, "Amama Yusuke, help me," gazing out at the brightly lit cityscape under the night sky. His expression is calm but tinged with sadness as he says, "I really thought I'd finally earned your trust." Thinking of her anguished and pained expression, he reflects inwardly in regret and self-blame. "No, this is all because of my own stupidity." He remains by the window, his face calm, but his eyes showing a quiet sorrow as he gazes out into the distance. Maki stands in front of a grand, elegant building labeled Nanjo Art Museum, gazing up at its impressive architecture under the bright daylight. She looks up with thoughtful eyes, reflecting internally. "This is considered one of the best museums, where my mother-in-law works as the director." She holds her phone, showing a message. "Could you come to the Nanjo Museum so we could talk?" She thinks to herself, bullying a young wife. In fact, it is because my mother-in-law is usually busy that I don't have much contact with her. She gazes down at her phone, her expression uncertain and cautious. I can't predict her at all. She, dressed elegantly, walks into the building, her heels clicking against the floor. What does she want to talk about? She wonders. Inside the museum, she looks around, impressed by the luxurious interior. The furnishings are incredible. I see. My house was also decorated according to my mother-in-law's taste. It looks like a royal palace. A voice welcomes her warmly as she steps further inside. "Welcome, Maki. This way, please." Her mother-in-law, poised and elegant, greets her politely while holding a cup of coffee. "I'm sorry for making you come all the way here. Please, place the phone over there." Maki approaches, politely responding as she sets her phone down. "Excuse me." Her mother-in-law sits calmly with a soft smile, sipping her coffee as she remarks, "It's not easy having a celebrity wife." Two women are sitting across from each other at a table with coffee cups. Maki apologizes while speaking sincerely. "I'm sorry about this. While Natsuki is away from me, could you take care of Natsuki's well-being?" Maki. Her mother-in-law gazes directly at her, suggesting a calm but serious demeanor. "Why don't we stop fighting when neither of us has anything to gain?" Maki, with a determined but calm expression, speaks firmly about her intentions. "Natsuki, all I want is custody of him." "Mother-in-law, please let me raise Natsuki." Mother-in-law lowers her gaze, then declares, "Maki, that child is a Nanjo, and the chairman wishes to raise him as a part of the family." Shocked, Maki challenges the plea with a sharp question. "So you're telling me to give up?" "Mother-in-law, if you were in my position, would you do that?" The mother-in-law raises her voice slightly, frustration visible on her face as she warns, "I'm not foolish enough to act like you without thinking about the consequences." Maki yells, "Mother-in-law." The mother-in-law interrupts her, "You should wait." Who will be chosen as the heir? That child or Natsuki? You don't know yet. Maki clenches her hands. Impossible. Let me raise Natsuki like a normal child. I don't want to raise him like you. The mother-in-law smiles faintly and mocks. Normal, you say? You married into Nanjo's family. You talk about me like I'm a dream. What do you think I am, of the Nanjo clan? Don't talk like it's a dream. If I were in your position, I would have said. And you know that too. It wasn't easy for me to accept him either. Maki, standing and clearly upset, responds sharply. If that's the case. The mother-in-law counters with a steady tone. That's why I'm saying it. The atmosphere grows heavier as tension fills the lavish room. Her expression was cold and detached. Maki, please be quiet about all these. Like you used to. Maki looks stunned and angry, gritting her teeth as she repeats in disbelief. Quiet? Excuse me, I won't do that. Holding herself together, Maki turns to leave. She speaks firmly. Her tone is resolute as she walks away. With her back turned, she declares with determination, I won't do what my mother-in-law says. Her steps are steady, but her expression hints at hidden conflict. Left behind, the mother-in-law lowers her eyes, softly muttering, right. Then I have nothing more to say. The atmosphere feels heavy and quiet. Outside the museum, Maki's thoughts echo as she sits in her car. Just remembering that. How many people have been hurt by her stubbornness? When I think back on my mother-in-law's words, I feel anxious that I may not be good for Natsuki. In the car, she grips the steering wheel with determination and whispers to herself, but I won't be silent. She reflects in her thoughts. Since that day, I have had no contact with Amamiya. The deadline for filing the lawsuit is tomorrow. She steps out of her parked car, glancing down with hesitation and thinking, maybe I should contact him. Walking away from her car, she is filled with regret, thinking, but I handed that flyer over without thinking of the consequences. She pauses in deep thought, acknowledging her nature. Right? I'm not the type of person who can act like a quiet, obedient wife. Looking up at the overcast sky, she silently observes, the sky looks like it's about to snow. I haven't seen Amamiya in a while, but I have no idea what he is thinking. In the past, he was easier to understand. Her mind drifts back to the past as snowflakes begin to fall. She appears younger, standing in a suburban area, holding her phone. She thinks, maybe around here, 16 years ago, winter. I was in the suburbs, and I took the bus after school for an hour. She thinks nervously. This is my first time here, and I have no idea. She gazes at the small, quiet town covered in light snow, thinking, even though it's just a small town, it's very far away. Resolute but weary, she closes her eyes slightly and thinks, the flyer I was given. I think I'll just give it to them and go home. Suddenly, a voice murmurs, hey, that person. Two voices are heard in the darkness, recognizing her. One says, isn't that Futagami Maki? And another responds, no way. No, I am telling you, that's her. In the foreground, Maki walks ahead, looking down, thinking, I can't hear everything. Maki grips her bag tightly as she focuses on the whispers around her. As she walks past an alley, the girls behind her gossip louder, saying, why did she break up with Ado Hiratsuka? Maki keeps her head lowered, quietly walking away as one of them remarks, she left. Maki's thoughts reveal, I'd already made my debut as an actor and had a movie coming out the following month. So there was a boring rumor going around. The two girls laugh behind her as she turns into a narrow alley. One sneers. If it were real, she wouldn't be here right now. She'd be with another guy, haha. The other adds, yeah, right, while Maki silently walks away, her figure fading into the distance. To dispel that rumor, she had to play the role of the well-behaved chairman at school. Maki stands in front of a traditional Japanese house, her expression tense as she clutches her bag strap. She thinks, 62-1. It's here. An elderly woman slightly opens the sliding door, peering out cautiously as the visitor startles. The elderly woman steps out a bit more, her face showing curiosity. Oh, hello? Who are you? Maki, flustered, raises her hands nervously while explaining her reason for being there. Oh, hello. I've come to see Amamiya because I have something to ask him. Yusuke Amamiya. The elderly woman smiles warmly, her demeanor soft and kind. Oh dear. It must have been cold. Yusuke isn't home yet. Maki, surprised by the response, reacts with a small, flustered expression. I see. The elderly woman cheerfully takes Maki's hands, inviting her inside. If you don't mind, come on in, he'll be back soon. Maki tries to decline, but the elderly woman is too enthusiastic. It's okay, and guides Maki inside the house. Outside, Yusuke notices something unusual. He sees the elderly woman enthusiastically speak while standing at the doorway. Let's have some tea. What would you like? Yusuke asks. What are you doing, Grandma? A guest. He rubs his neck and asks, who? Grandma places a steaming cup on the table. Are you cold? Maki sits at the table, holding the warm cup, looking slightly embarrassed but grateful. Thank you very much. I'm sorry for coming without notice. Grandma sits across, smiling kindly. I'm sorry for forcing you here. Maki glances around the room with a thoughtful expression. It's a strange place. Even though it's my first time here, Yusuke feels more at home at school. The older woman leans forward, asking a question. Is he getting along with his friends? While Maki hesitates, caught off guard. Ah well. She thought of the classroom where he rests his head on his desk, apparently asleep. Other students whisper about him. Student 1, he's not going to school. Student 2, wow, he really thought about it and actually came, snoozing away. Maki processes the conversation, touching her chin thoughtfully, as if realizing something. Right? He gets along with everyone. The older woman smiles warmly, clasping her hands together with relief and joy. Oh yes, that's good. The older woman's tone softens as her smile fades slightly, speaking with quiet concern about the boy's past. He has a scar from a serious injury when he was little. I'm worried they'll make fun of him because of it. Maki looks tender and reassuring, gently contradicting the worry expressed. Yusuke, he's not like that. Though the real truth is, Amamiya hides his scars by wearing his winter uniform even during the summer. People around him often say, it's hard to be around him. But Amamiya is not alone. He has a kind grandmother who cares for him and waits for him at home. Much better than me, being alone all the time when I go home. Amamiya's grandmother smiling warmly with soft contentment. At the entrance of the house, Yusuke calls, I'm home. The grandmother gets up as she happily calls out, welcome back. Yusuke, you have a visitor. Yusuke, surprised as he responds curiously. Maki, standing politely in the doorway, bows slightly with a gentle smile and says, sorry to disturb you. Yusuke shows his shocked expression, eyes wide in disbelief, as he responds quietly, huh? Then he abruptly turns away to leave the room. Grandma calls after him sharply, shouting, Yusuke, hey, where are you going? The grandmother apologizes with a concerned expression, saying, I am sorry about Yusuke. It's almost dinner time, but that child, Maki, maintaining a calm and polite demeanor, reassures her. It's okay, I'll go after him. She runs out, through a narrow walkway, her expression filled with worry as she searches for Yusuke. She saw him by a small wooden shed under a darkening, cloudy sky. Yusuke sits in a shed, crouched down and focusing on a red fuel container. Maki stands a short distance behind him, watching quietly, and says, You never come to school at all, but you're still wearing the uniform? Glancing around the shed, she explains, I came to deliver some prints, but this is a nice place. It's just a little over an hour away from Tokyo. She thought, everywhere you look, it's so retro. She steps closer with a friendly smile while he remains focused on his task, expression stern. Don't come here. She does not retreat. Instead, she approaches in a polite manner. Do you put oil in that? Let me try it too. I've always wanted to try it because we don't have a stove at home. He reacts suddenly, stopping her hand from touching the thing with urgency. Stop it. She stumbles backward in surprise, her eyes wide with shock. He grabs her hand tightly, his tone sharp and protective. That's dangerous. That's why. I told you to not come here. What? Is my life so poor that you find it interesting because you live in Tokyo? Maki looks up at him, startled and hurt by his words. No, that's... Maki tries to break the tense silence, saying, I just wanted to say that your grandma called you for dinner. His voice cuts sharp in response. Don't talk about my grandma, and don't come here anymore. Still gripping her wrist, he says coldly, If you are done with your business, go home now. Realizing that he is still holding her hand, He, visibly frustrated, let her hand go. Maki looks at him fiercely, her eyes steady and determined. She responds, "It seems like you have the wrong idea. There is no reason for me to find it amusing." He glares back, his tone sharp as he confronts her. "And you come here for what? Just to bring me some prints? It's tough being a celebrity, isn't it? Always maintaining the perfect image. The world is really unfair. You live in a luxury home, without your parents. And I live in poverty." He lets out a bitter smile. Maki looks at him intently, her expression soft but filled with concern. She asks quietly, "Is that why you don't come to school? Because you're so pessimistic?" Back to the present. His hand finishes typing the document on the keyboard, then reaches out to stretch as he says, "There we go. It's over." Well, it's almost pitiful how greedy this Nanjo heir is when it comes to Maki. The building in the city center that Maki bought 10 years ago for 2 billion yen. Nanjo's counterclaim seeks a share of the property in Maki's name on the grounds of past management of the building. Maki's wealth was quite the topic of conversation at the time. The building is under Maki's name, and now I am looking at assets due to past management. Yusuke smiles slightly, still looking at the paper with a sense of confidence and dismissal. But this is completely worthless. Nanjo Kazuki is seen as a responsible spouse, yet he committed adultery during the marriage. On top of that, he even fathered a child out of wedlock. These facts are undeniable. He looks toward a clock on the wall, the time ticking away. If there's a problem, now looking thoughtful and concerned, he touches his lips as he reflects inwardly. "Maki, I haven't heard anything from her. What the hell are you doing? The lawsuit is due tomorrow. At this time, it's not reasonable. Why can't she just send me the data for the lawsuit, and then I'll be on my way?" A soft, nostalgic scene shows Maki smiling gently. "I'm sorry to bother you." He sits in a chair, leaning back with one hand covering his face, clearly frustrated or conflicted. He mutters in exasperation, "Shit." Holding his phone, the clock on the wall indicates it's late at night. He reflects inwardly with a mix of self-criticism and resignation. "You're too self-conscious. You're not even a kid." The phone screen lights up with an incoming call. The name Maki Futagami appears in bold letters. Maki, standing near the railing of a parking area, looking up as rain begins to fall. It started raining. She checks her phone with a thoughtful look and seems deep in contemplation. And besides, at a time like this, she looks startled as her phone suddenly vibrates in her hands, surprising her. The screen shows an incoming call from Amamiya Yusuke. She appears taken aback. "Hello, Ma." Yusuke, holding his phone to his ear while speaking and working at his desk with files around him. "I'll email you the written objection." She thanks him. He covers half of his face as he speaks more seriously. "I'm planning to demand 20 billion yen as compensation from Kazuki Nanjo, your husband." His thoughts reflect his anxiety. "Oh gosh." Since Maki answered so quickly, I panicked and went straight to the point, she replies. "Thank you. I'll check it right away." Noticing the difference in enthusiasm, he asks, "What's wrong? Did you catch a cold or something? You don't have your usual energy, do you?" Maki, still standing outside with her phone to her ear, replies, "Yeah, kinda." In his office, Yusuke relaxes in his chair with a thoughtful expression, holding his phone loosely in his hand. He seems lost in thought as he glances at the clock on the wall. He asks, "By the way, did you have dinner yet?" She admits she hasn't yet. He then suggests, "How about we eat together?" He explains, "There are some things I wanted to talk about too. How about now? I'll wait for you." She hesitantly agrees. "Oh, okay then. Want to come over?" He looks slightly surprised but composed and responds, "All right, I'll be there within the hour." She replies, "All right, see you later." Back in his office, he wraps up the call calmly, acknowledging her response before hanging up. After the call ends, he stares quietly at his phone, his expression unreadable as he reflects silently. He laughs evilly and overly confident about the situation, then affirms his confidence that Maki will go along with the plan. He leans back in his chair with a calculating smile, his eyes sharp with determination. His expression shows that he's fully aware of the situation and how to handle it. When she's feeling down, that's the best time to earn her trust. He spins slightly in his office chair, crossing his arms thoughtfully. "That's why I need to approach her looking as reliable as possible. Her condition does concern me a little." Despite his serious internal strategy, A hint of concern slips through. Behind him, Oda enters quietly. Behind him, Oda appears suddenly, calling, "Attorney," startling Yusuke's internal victory lap of gaining her trust. In shock and panic, he yells, "What? What the heck? At least knock first." Oda replies, "I knocked already." Yusuke jumps in his seat, glaring at the Oda. "No, you didn't." Oda now stands near his desk with a calm demeanor and responds without any guilt. "I did. You probably didn't hear me knock because you're having a fun conversation, right?" Yusuke explains, "Ugh, you always have such an annoying way of saying things." Oda questions, "So Futagami Maki gets special treatment, huh?" Flustered, he points accusingly at Oda. "Hey, it's not what you think. It's not Futagami Maki that's special. It's Futagami Maki's case that's special. She'll be receiving 20 billion from Nanjo Kazuki soon. A lawyer's job is to protect their client's entire fortune, and a part of that comes to us. Do you realize how much money we're making off this alone?" Oda remains calm but concedes, Yeah, I get it, but still." Then he calls out, "Oda." Yusuke waves his hand dismissively while walking away. "If you've got time to waste on this, just go home already. See you tomorrow." Oda looks serious as he watches Yusuke leaves. A city street at dusk is shown, cars and pedestrians filling the scene. Yusuke complains, "Man, that guy really has nothing better to do. Seriously, he follows me around like a nosy little ant." He can sense Oda standing quietly behind him. He suddenly turns his head in surprise while driving, looking around cautiously. He glances behind him with suspicion, uneasy about being followed. "There's no one there, right? I always feel Oda's presence behind me." He presses down firmly on the car pedal. "Humph. That's why he always ends up being bossed around by me." He took out a small bottle of whiskey from his pocket and put it away. "Let's not. Why is it so suffocating? I don't care if people say I'm blinded by money. Everything is for the sake of money. I'm sorry, even though you're in your growing years." A flashback scene. A small Yusuke with his grandma sit together eating meager food. His grandma smiles warmly despite their humble meal. "I never want to struggle with poverty again. This is a big gamble. My life's at stake, but it's my risk to take." Maki heard the doorbell. She yells out toward the door and says, "Coming." She opens the door nervously and greets, Good evening." Yusuke, standing outside in a suit, replies, "Good evening. Sorry to bother you." He looks at her intently, his expression serious. His inner thought says, "As I thought. Why do you seem so worn out?" She smiles softly and says, "Please, come on in." He closes the door behind him and asks, "Hey, what is wrong with you? You don't look like yourself today." She glances at him with hesitation and begins to speak. "Actually, I went to meet my mother-in-law." He listens intently, showing concern. He replies, "I see." And then, "What did she say?" She smiles faintly, recalling the meeting. She explains, "She told me to be quiet and not do anything unnecessary. But I told her I can't do that." Her smile fades as she looks down apologetically. She admits, "I ended up provoking my mother-in-law. I'm sorry. Did I do something that irritates you again?" He raises his hand slightly with a reassuring smile, dismissing her fears. He says, Me? Mad at you? There's no way." He grows more serious, looking slightly guilty as he admits, "Rather, I'm the one who should be apologizing. I was wrong the other day. I could have blamed the alcohol, but still." His expression is sincere as he addresses his mistake. "I'm sorry." Maki looks at him with soft eyes, smiling gently. She continues with heartfelt words, "I'm the one who should have apologized. You've been working so hard for my trial. And yet, I did that the other day." Yusuke smiles warmly and speaks gently to her. "I don't really mind that. More importantly, Maki, have you been eating properly?" He scratches the back of his neck, looking a little awkward, while Maki seems confused by his sudden question. "Well, this is unexpected." A flashback shows his grandmother smiling kindly. "You know my grandmother. Make sure you eat properly. She always told me that." He looks embarrassed, recalling his past feelings. "When I was a kid, I hated hearing that and would always respond coldly. I never thought I'd be the one to say it today." Maki smiles softly, touched by his words. He leans toward her, pointing as he insists firmly. "Anyways, what you need right now is to eat a proper meal." He looks awkward while Maki giggles at him. Maki laughs wholeheartedly, covering her mouth with her hand, her eyes bright with joy. He smiles softly in response, his face showing a hint of shyness as he watches her laugh. Maki looks at him warmly, her tone softer and sincere. I might actually need it too. He looks around the room and comments on its simplicity. She is holding chopsticks, glances back with a gentle smile. You think so? He notices a corner of the furniture and expresses concern. This corner. Isn't it dangerous? If you're living with your son. She smiles softly as she recalls the past. A memory shows him yelling at her about danger. You've really changed a lot compared to back then. Yusuke, now with a lighter expression, asks about dinner. By the way, what should we eat for dinner? What do you feel like eating? She smiles while preparing food and reassures him dinner will be ready soon. You can just sit and wait for a bit. In the kitchen, he is surprised to see her cooking. You are cooking? That's unexpected. Let me help too. Maki, chopping vegetables, responds softly. You know that I'm a mother. A memory shows her happily cooking while carrying her child on her back. While being married and raising a child, I gradually came to love cooking for someone else. Her child, smiling brightly while eating, expresses joy and gratitude. More than anything, I loved seeing that happy smile. Her child praises, it's delicious. Mom, I love everything you make. Now, she admits that after being alone for some time, cooking became painful because it always reminded her of Nasuki. He stands close behind her, watching her as she cooks. I've always wondered how an actress lived of nothing but air. She turns around and smiles brightly, her expression full of warmth as she asks casually, what's that? I'm not a seiju. Their noises fills the room with warmth. Yusuke looks thoughtful and admits, the sound of someone else being around. It's comforting. Both of them continue cooking in the kitchen together, Yusuke handling the plates while Maki chops vegetables. He reflects, it's been a while since I've felt like this. She works quietly as she steals glances back at him. Do you have any plans on getting married? Surprised, he questions her reasoning with disgust. Huh? Marriage? She asks, why would I think about it? You're turning 32 this year, right? While internally reflecting, I've always wanted a family more than anything. He looks at her, disgusted by the topic, and points out the contradiction. And now you, someone who's about to get divorced, are asking that. His attitude makes her upset, and she confronts him. Somehow the way you said it really pissed me off. The tension shifts as both of them are laughing together, showing the moment easing up with shared amusement. She glances at her warmly, thinking to herself, Mamma mia, to think you have such a beautiful smile. Maki, smiling while cooking, warns him about the food. The pot might boil over if you leave it like that. She asks him for help. My hands are full. Could you turn off the stove for me? He focuses on the stove, muttering to himself. The fire, his PTSD of being burned when he was very young took over his sanity. The experience, it's hot. Ouch. It hurts, makes him nervous about handling fire. Maki continues calmly with her cooking, unaware of his struggle, moving efficiently with her utensils. He fiddles with the stove buttons, trying to figure it out. Damn it, which one is it? Holding a bowl of rice, she teases him lightly with a knowing smile. You look like someone who's cooking for the first time, or am I wrong? A pot of noodles is boiling on the stove as he reaches his hand dangerously close to it. The steam rises, and noodles start sticking to his fingers. She yells, woman, Mamma mia. Beads of sweat run down his face, indicating his rising panic. She suddenly rushes toward him, her expression filled with urgency and fear. Mamma mia. As if in his own world, he couldn't hear her. He stares intently, his hand reaching out with a look of sheer determination. She grabs his arms in panic, trying to stop him. What are you doing? Mamma mia. The boiling pot spills over, liquid dripping down the sides onto the stove, emphasizing the dangerous situation. He turns his head slightly, his face filled with shock and a hint of dread as he realizes the potential danger escalating in the kitchen. In a swift motion, he grabs her and pulls her away from the stove, his protective instincts taking over, yelling, it's dangerous. Steam rises from the boiling pot in the background as the man holds her close, his expression tense and worried. She stays pressed against him as she feels dumbfounded by his action. Hey, what's wrong with you? He finally let go of her, feeling a bit startled and apologetic. Sorry. The man stands with his hands slightly raised, still silent. his face partially shadowed, showing his conflicted emotions. She asks, "Are you okay?" He replies hesitantly, sorry, I'll do it," as he looks at the spilled pot. She responds calmly, "It's fine, I got it." Yusuke is visibly tense and still breathing heavily. She tells him, "Just rest on the sofa for now." Maki is quietly standing at the counter cleaning and cooking, while Yusuke's thoughts are heavy and conflicted. Sitting on the sofa, he buries his face in his hands, embarrassed and overwhelmed. He mutters to himself, "Please pretend you didn't see that. I'm so embarrassed I could die." She approaches him, concerned on her face, and leans in slightly, asking, "Have you calmed down?" He stays quiet, just looking at her, lost for words. Then he curls up slightly on the couch, still feeling embarrassed. "No, really. Don't worry about it." She smiles warmly, her expression soft and comforting as she announces, "It's ready. Let's eat." Her calm and inviting tone helps ease the earlier tension. Both sit at the table for dinner. He looks at her quietly while she prepares to eat. Sensing her gaze lingering on him, he finally looks up and says, "What is it? You're staring too much." She smiles softly while speaking. "Sorry, I was wondering if it suited your taste." Internally, she reflects, "A burn scar. I wonder if that has to do with his reaction earlier." He places the chopsticks on the table and explains, "When I was a kid, I got a severe burn. I was scalded with boiling water." A vivid memory flashes. A pot boils over, steam and flames rising dangerously, with someone yelling, "Yusuke!" He, looking somber, points toward his right shoulder and says, "From here." Then he traces the scar down to his waist, continuing, "To here." She looks at him attentively as he says, "So, basically." With a pained look, he gestures toward the kitchen and finishes, "That." "Sorry." She smiles gently, thinking, so he was conscious about it. Out loud, she reassures him with a calm, kind voice, "Oh, that's nothing. When you're raising kids, things like that happen all the time." He looks flustered and blushing, seemingly caught off guard. As he looks toward someone, his fingers slightly tense. Maki speaks softly, trying to reassure him. "Don't make that face. Thanks to you, I didn't get burned." He remains quiet, looking somewhat conflicted but attentive, and thanks her for the meal. The plates are now empty. He asks, "Do you want to go for a walk?" Maki, surprised, responds, "Huh? Right now?" She removes her apron while standing. "If we're going to talk about the appeal letter, I thought it'd be better at home." Still looking concerned, he replies, "No, you still seem worn out." Sitting on the couch, the man smiles reassuringly and says, "We can just avoid crowded places, right?" They are now walking together at night along a quiet, dimly lit path. Yusuke explains seriously, "The Nanjo side will probably come at us even stronger from now on." Maki, walking beside him with a soft but pensive expression, replies quietly, "I see." He begins explaining something significant. "Maki, actually, while investigating the Nanjo side, something caught my attention. When I looked into Kazuki Nanjo's assets, they were unervingly clean." Maki looks surprised and confused while the man lowers his gaze. She asks, What do you mean by that?" He looks serious as he explains, "Maki, to be blunt, things aren't looking great. To turn things around, we need all the information you have. Does Kazuki Nanjo have any weaknesses?" Maki looks pensive but attentive. She listens as the man adds, "Like hidden assets, for example. Do you know anything like that?" Maki responds, "I don't know that much." Yusuke immediately follows up, "Then who do you think would know?" Maki seems puzzled, her expression reflecting uncertainty. She asks, "What do you mean?" Her inner thoughts reveal, as if he had known the answer all along. He finally clarifies, "For example, your stepbrother, the ill-fated man of the Nanjo group." Nanjo Life Representative Director, Nanjoin Hajime. Flashback to the mother-in-law admitting in a serious tone, "Even for me, accepting that child wasn't easy." Her words echo in the present moment as Maki reacts, her eyes wide in shock. That child, identified as Nanjo Akido. He is Kazuki Nanjo's half-brother, meaning he's the illegitimate son of Chairman Nanjo Soichiro. Only a select few know this fact. However, Akido is known for always cleaning up Kazuki's mess. Akido builds towers with great effort, only for Kazuki to tear them down. Because of that, Everyone calls him the ill-fated man of Nanjo. Yusuke, serious and focused, speaks to Maki as they walk side by side. Maki reasons, but he has nothing to do with my divorce. He reasons, do you know the saying, the enemy of my enemy is my friend? She asks, are you suggesting we seek his cooperation? The woman gazes upward, her expression resolute but uncertain, as she acknowledges the risks of the situation. He told her, we can't defeat this opponent without taking risks. You understand that, don't you? The scene transitions to an elegant, luxurious apartment with a panoramic night view of the city. A lone woman in a white evening dress stands in the center, looking small and isolated. Her eyes closed and hands clasped tightly in prayer. Lord, please forgive me. The scene is set at the Nanjo Electronics headquarters. The office is busy, with several employees working, discussing matters, and handling paperwork while their superior sits at his desk, overseeing the activity. Kazuki sits at his desk with a serious and calculating expression as he studies information on a tablet. Headlines are shown, exposing the scandal. Kazuki Nanjo admits having an illegitimate child. Can the legal spouse win custody? And Kazuki Nanjo versus Maki Futagami. A high-stakes alimony battle unfolds. The media coverage highlights the public tension and growing scrutiny on Kazuki and his divorce. Inside the office, an assistant looks flustered as he reports, is that it? We need to get more. The proposed alimony is $2 billion, but let's aim for a $200 million settlement. We must prepare for it. Listening to all the commotions, Kazuki reflects coldly, thinking, my wife is so lucky. Finding a new lawyer so quickly must have been difficult. Employees in the office turn to look toward Kazuki speaking. An employee responds factually, there is no denying that Futagami's claims have a significant impact on public opinion. Kazuki smirks confidently, exuding arrogance as he says, if the public is turning against me, I can't help but question your competence. The employees discuss among themselves, acknowledging the situation's impact. There's no denying that Futagami's claims have a significant impact on public opinion. Kazuki, with an icy and calculated demeanor, states, then, let's entertain her as she wishes. I'm sure she'll put on quite the performance in court as well. His hands clasped together in a composed and confident pose. His expression is calm but calculating, indicating he's about to make a serious statement or decision, as he thought back to when Maki's lawyer was defending her with the law. His intense gaze as he stares back at Kazuki silently challenges him. Kazuki looks frustrated, his brows furrowed and lips pressed tightly together as he mutters in irritation. That greenhorn. In a boardroom, Kazuki commands authority as he addresses his staff, who looks startled and attentive. Write down what I'm about to say. He sits back in his chair with a calm but domineering expression, confident in his next moves. I'll make them understand who it is they've declared war on. His employees scramble to follow his instructions. His PR team prepares to record his words. One of the assistants records, while another looks nervous. Kazuki went on with his fake story. For me, this marriage was extremely painful, to the point where I had to seek psychiatric treatment. But my wife didn't even try to understand. I worked late every day, draining myself physically and mentally, because to my wife, maintaining her figure mattered more than being a wife or raising our child. Kazuki sits in his office, exuding calm authority. He acknowledges his responsibilities as a father and declares his willingness to handle the situation reasonably. Of course, I have no intention of shirking my responsibilities as a father. I plan to offer a reasonable amount to settle the alimony amicably. Kazuki sips his coffee thoughtfully, a serious expression crossing his face as he reflects on the situation. What concerns me is the change in her claims. An image of Maki standing beside the lawyer appears. Kazuki's mind connects the dots, noting the familiarity between them. Suddenly, she changed lawyers, and it turns out he was her middle school classmate. She initially insisted she didn't need money and only wanted custody of our son. Yet now, she's demanding $2 billion in alimony out of nowhere. It makes me suspicious. Kazuki smiles sharply, his glasses glinting with cold confidence as he leans forward. That from the very beginning, her true intent was financial gain. Kazuki slams his hands on the table, leaning over it with a commanding presence. That she's using our child as a bargaining chip to get what she wants. That's the impression I get. Kazuki walks confidently toward the exit, coffee in hand, as his subordinates bow respectfully. I'm counting on you. Outside, Kazuki steps out of the building, speaking softly into his phone as his car waits nearby. Natsuki, have you eaten? You're not being picky like yesterday, are you? A child's small hand trembling as tears drip to the floor, holding a toy car tightly. Papa. Inside a warm room, a nanny gently comforts the crying child while holding the phone near his head as the child pleading innocently. Papa, when can I see Mama? Ask Mama to come pick me up soon. Kazuki, looking serious and a bit weary, talks on the phone while adjusting his glasses. On the other end, a child softly says, Mama. The man replies, you have violin lessons soon, right? You can't just cry the whole time like last week. The child yells through the phone, Mama, why won't she come and see me? Kazuki, walking through the building lobby, responds coldly, well, I suppose Mama has more important things to do than seeing you. A quiet, trembling voice from the other end says, sniff, hick. The child's broken voice asks, did Mama stop loving me? He cries, cheeks streaked with tears as he continues to wipe the crocodile teardrops. Kazuki's voice responds, if you study well, maybe you'll be able to see Mama. Listen to your teacher, okay? The man lowers the phone, sighing heavily as he looks down with a mix of exhaustion and frustration. He mutters softly, sigh. At a luxurious home, a woman in a flowing white gown turns around in surprise, looking toward the man as he enters, her expression one of slight shock. Her delicate face reveals her soft gaze, as she stares silently at the man who has just arrived. Kazuki embraces Anna tightly, holding her close. His voice is firm but calm as he says, Anna. Startled and flustered, Anna responds softly, Kazuki-san. Anna looks up at Kazuki with wide, questioning eyes. Her voice trembles as she asks, weren't you supposed to be busy today? The closeness between them builds an unmistakable tension. Kazuki leans closer, his intense gaze fixed on Anna. Overwhelmed, Anna gasps, her expression a mix of surprise and uncertainty. Kazuki gently guides Anna forward, his arm resting around her as they walk toward the bedroom. She looks up and calls out nervously, Kazuki-san, seeking clarity in his actions. The scene shifts to the exterior of a modern building in daylight. The next morning, Amamiya Law Office. Inside, Yusuke is lounging casually in a chair, holding a paper and scanning its contents with a thoughtful expression. He mutters, as he examines the document. Suddenly, Oda bursts through the door in a hurry, calling out urgently, Chief. His expression is filled with urgency as he rushes toward the lawyer. Oda shows the papers and phone, speaking quickly. Do you know? Here's this morning's scoop on Maki Futagami. The lawyer leans forward to take the information, his face calm and calculating. He reclines back in his chair, glances up with an almost indifferent look as Oda asks, should we stop it? Without hesitation, the lawyer dismisses the idea, leaning back with a relaxed demeanor. He says casually, no, just let it be. His tone is cool and detached, betraying no sign of worry. Oda, confused and concerned, questions, why? Holding a document, he smirks confidently as he looks at it. He seems self-assured and calculating. If we leave it alone, even Maki won't hesitate anymore, right? Maki, holding the phone to read the news, is clearly surprised or confused as they look at the screen. What's this? Shocks, as she holds the phone tightly in her hand. In disbelief, she scolds, unbelievable.